Hello. We are here today with a RUPL mid-season interview with BluBird, player of the Rocky Mountain Payloaders.
Hello, I'm
Hello.
BluBird.
And how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been a pretty busy day, pretty hot here in Greece, but
Mm,
I'm managing.
yeah, that's good to hear. So we're starting off with a light question.
Okay.
Who would you say is the funniest player in your team chat?
Uh, ah, hmm. Uh, Golcat would probably want me to say him, but it's definitely Tsuki, right?
Hmm.
He's been, yeah, the epitome of I'm funny and everyone will be having a laugh in the chat. Great presence, and I had like a very good time even there.
Yeah, cool. Any examples or just general?
Uh, it's just general, the type of
Uh-huh.
when you're in a tour chat and there are certain like quotables that you get to throw out every now and then. Like the yaps and the huge with all caps and all of that.
Hmm.
And us, just me, Tuki, and Sangler with the occasional like interference from Boof or um, Danny, just bullying Golcat. you know
Fair enough.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
he's there
and the
for.
and the and the one, yeah, exactly, and the one or two like appearances of Suzuya from the bench just hopping in saying that everyone sucks, especially Golkat, and then him just leaving. That's what makes a good tour, right?
Yeah, not just the games, but also the community.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, do you have any pre-game rituals you stick to before playing a tour game?
Sorry.
Do you have any
The-
like, pre-game rituals? What do you do to
oh
get ready for the
uh,
game?
well, I didn't used to have one because I thought it was like kind of silly, but um, when I started playing, I was like very much like a choke artist, right? I never managed like a good end game, and I had like a good start, but just gradually fall off as time went on in game. But because it was like a mental thing, right? I wasn't like checked in, I wasn't focused as much as I should have been, and I realized that there are some things like I like putting on music before the game and just really like singing and doing all of that, and just to get me hyped, get me woken up and ready to just go in it. And the other thing that I like to do is just run some small circles, in my house. Not run, but like a light
A
jog,
jog, yeah.
yeah, in the house just to warm up, if
Get the
that
blood
makes sense.
flowing.
Yeah, exactly. But nothing too surreal. One thing I do like though is whenever I'm playing, I'm doing um, like a live performance. I'm performing like I'm seeing the game live and I'm making all the plays and I'm saying okay, like a YouTube video, like because I grew up and I watched a lot of like Pokemon and Blender and all of that. So it's only natural that I found it like inspiring to just see,
Yeah,
in
so
game how it sounded. It all makes like a lot more sense, if you say it out loud rather than just thinking and wasting time for no reason, because you actually see more routes, more optimal plays, and what play would not pay out, because if you say it out loud it actually sounds more reasonable.
yeah, that definitely sounds pretty
And it
good.
also keeps you a lot calmer during the game.
Hmm. Yeah, I might have to give that a try myself. So, do you have any favorite sets that you've brought to your games thus far in
Oh,
RUPL?
sets as in Pokemon sets,
Yeah,
like, oh god, there are like a billion of those. I love SSRU. I love building in SSRU. um and I've brought like a bunch of stuff that I think they're like very innovative, but not just silly gimmicks, for no reason. um
of course.
One, yeah, if I had to highlight one from this season at least, it would probably be, I'm split between two, right? One is the life of Braiko that I really like is bringing in my offenses because that thing is like very very strong and very it's not considered like an option, right? Because it's mainly like leftovers calm mind or just boots like a pivot. But
Yeah.
modest life orb like coverage and calm mind is just so absurdly strong and hits like very very hard when people don't expect it to. And then there is also the in the team that I brought versus Danox, it was an 8-0, right? And I had a Talonflame with no item. It was just Gale Wings, Acrobatics, SD, Flare Blitz, and Roost. It was a bit bulky, adamant, and it actually revenge killed the +2 Mimikyu because of Gale Wings, and it's actually a very cool try in Hyper Offense because you manage to just annoy the hazard setters so much that they don't end up getting rocks,
Hmm.
oftentimes at least, so Talonflame can really do some work. Other than that, it's just I brought like Galarian Articuno with Futicide and some bulk benchmarks. I brought a Vikavolt, which was like really cool with Mudshot. Like
Yeah.
looking back at the
I
yeah,
really like the Vika Vault.
yeah, it's so good. I even evaded to outspeed and to hit KO Nidoqueen after the Mudshot speed drop.
Ooh.
Some stuff, when the EVs just make a lot of sense and everything just seems to fall into place. That's like the golden line when
Hmm.
building. When that happens every so often, it's just so so good. I believe that would be it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, which one game would you say has been your personal highlight this season?
Of my games,
Yes. Maybe another
mm,
game.
I will probably do hmm, tough. I really liked my game versus Attribute and my game versus Danox as well. Versus Mace, it was a good game. I lost versus Danox and Mace, so I will just highlight the game versus Attribute that I won.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a cool team. I was like, this season was a bit tougher to build because my schedule, like IRL, is pretty tough to manage. But I did manage to build all my teams, so that's always fun. And that was like the main goal going into RUPL, which is something I'm very proud of. Just build new stuff and always bring something fresh to the table. But yeah, I managed to have a game versus Attribute, which was actually pretty close and very well played on both sides, I believe. um, Scyther popped off, which is something that doesn't happen like very often.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, and it was just a very cool game because Attribute is like a very strong player, and I'm always like very hyped when I get to win versus strong players.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that was also my second win of the season and my last win of the season. But yeah, that was tough. But it was a very enjoyable game. Like all games besides like a few exceptions were like very down to the wire and actually very fun to play.
Yeah, your games were all fun to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah. On the topic of building, is there anyone you'd like to shout out who's been a help with your prep or
Well,
any help to your season?
there's obviously DK, which was, you know, I when he got me, we talked and we said that, I told him that, I will need support. Like, I'm a builder, yeah, but I really need someone just bounce ideas back and forth, right? And he told me that he would try and help as much as he can, and he did try. Sometimes he was busy, and I was busy, so the times didn't really overlap. So it was a bit tougher, but I still had support from my buddies, Mace, Danox, even Astro, and like Metallica, Oyster. I've made like a lot of friends in the RU community, and I'm very happy for that. And Beraldo too. Everyone just chimed in a little bit, you know. And also, I want to shout out Tangler and Suki because they were like enthusiastic enough and helpful enough that they helped me like test certain like sequences and mechanics and all of that when I was building. So credit goes to them as well. Some stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What were your expectations going into the season, and do you think you lived up to them?
Oh boy. Okay. My expectations going into this, like last year, I was a part of the Optical Illusionists, right? I was managed by IFO and Mace. I also had Master Chief on my team set and Denial, now Denial. It was formerly Lunala. We had like a very, very strong team and it was actually the most fun I've ever had in a tour, right? That's the main reason why I signed up again, because not just because I like SSRU as a tier, I really love it, but the last season experience was just so good, right? It was so fun. Everyone was like supporting each other. We had like a little arguments in a more fun sense of the word, you know. It was very lively, you know. There weren't like dead chats or anything like that. It was a very good season. Even though we didn't make it like all the way to the finals, I it genuinely felt like the best tour I've ever been in. And my expectations going into this were originally just have like fun, you know, because last year left like a very good taste in my mouth. And the other part of the expectations were like I'm slowly becoming like established in this tier, right? In SSRU. And I've seen like people recognize that and I appreciate that a lot. And the expectations I had were like go in, build a lot of teams, just progress the tier further, push forward the tier in a sense, and have a dominant record, right? I really wanted to just leave my name alongside, you know, guys like Mace or Attribute himself as well. And yeah, that was the expectations going into it, right? I was really eager to play SSRU all year. Right after the last RUPL, I was literally just counting down until RUPL happens again. And I did not have a dominant season. I had like a very poor season. My at least for I wasn't able to live up to my expectations and to my team's expectations. I've apologized like a number of times to them, but I'll never forgive this type of record personally. Just something just wasn't clicking, you know, this year.
Hmm. Yeah, I imagine your like work schedule, as you mentioned, wasn't helping.
Yeah, I'm working 11 hours per day, like, and 11 minimum, and I only have one day off, so it's kind of tough to mix, you know, months and the tiredness and all of that, which was
Mm.
the main reason why this season was a lot tougher than I expected.
Hmm. So one thing you mentioned, the advancing the SSIU meta. Do you feel like that happened over the course of the tournament?
That's a good question. Over the course of the tournament, I will go. I will need to go back to the last season once again, and sorry for that. But I remember last season going into SRU, I was mainly just fond of the tier, like the way I remembered it from SCL, right? I wasn't like very in the stage of SRU. I just really liked the tier and wanted to give it a shot, you know. And the one thing that everyone like kept telling me is that you're gonna be looking at 12 teams that are gonna get recycled over and over again, right? Which is part of why I really wanted to. And I managed actually to build all my teams that I was using both last season and this season. And one thing I want to like quote unquote take pride on, uh, we might discredit that, someone might will, and that's perfectly fine, of course. But one thing I wanna take pride in that I made a post last season, at the end of last season, just showcasing my teams and the effort that I put in and all of that. And I don't know if it's because of that, but this season I've seen like close to no recycling. Like I've seen a lot of new teams and a lot of like new ideas, and every SS game is actually pretty cool to see. You know, pretty that it's not the same old, you know, boring versus boring, you know, Registeel Crobat and all of that type of stuff and Milotic. You see a lot of like new stuff like being experimented with, and I'm really happy for that because I wanna think that I was a part of that, even a tiny bit.
Yeah, I'd definitely say you were.
Thank you very much. That's the goal, you know.
Hmm. Have fun, make a fun tier.
Yeah, just to revive the tier, you know, because I felt like at some point people had the tier for dead, you know. Like Master Chief especially was like very unenthusiastic about seeing the tier again. So yeah,
Yeah. That's when I started playing Pokemon competitively.
did you?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, SSRU is where I first went into it properly.
Was it the Obstagoon meta?
Um, it was the Mienshao meta
Oh, that's tough. Yeah,
is when I started.
well, that's very tough. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. But it was fun. I stuck around.
Yeah, that's great to have you here.
And one final question. This isn't on the list, but
Okay.
since you just brought it up, how do you feel about Obstagoon in SSRU?
Oh no. I have like a very strong opinion about some mons that need to go and some stuff that we might need to make this tier a bit healthier because even though it is healthy on many fronts, there are some points that you just go insane while building, right? Obstacle is part of those kind of because one of those mons that I'm talking about is obviously Pangoro. This tier does not have like potent knockoff absorbers, right? It might have mons that will like be okay absorbing knockoff like Milotic or Vileplume, right? They're
Hmm.
fine absorbing knockoff from most mons, but when it comes off stuff like Pangoro or Incineroar is another like very annoying one, it's really really tough to take account for in like while building because most of the things that you're gonna use to absorb knockoff if you're not using like a very offensive team are very passive stuff, and I don't think that's great because the passive stuff end up bringing up the other issue that the tier has in my eyes, and that is Reuniclus. Reuniclus is just absurd to take into account all of the sets, all of the possibilities, and even if you know the set, its longevity is ridiculous and it's so hard to pressure at times, and it actually requires like a good eye on preview to just kind of guess what kind of Reuniclus it is, and it's really very restricting on the builder, in my opinion, needlessly so. So, yeah, I don't think Obstagoon, to answer your question, should be ever considered, in my opinion, because the tier already has enough problems as it is with offensive mons, and I think adding one more to this mix is just not gonna be very helpful.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And that is all the questions we have. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Anything I'd like to add? Nothing per se. To be honest, I just want to say that like I want to give shout outs to my team and thank you for Goldcat for drafting me and trusting me, even though the season didn't pan out the way that we were expecting. It's actually really appreciative of how everyone treated me in this tour, and I'm really proud of especially of the new guys. I've said that a lot in the Discord and on my team's Discord that all of the newcomers were like very, very enthusiastic and brought a very good vibe to the team, and the old dogs as well were like fantastic. People like Haradu and Boof, like very, very stoic and very good in the team chat. Suzuya was, I don't know. He was just lurking around, being a sub. Nothing too spectacular, but yeah, I generally like the team. I wish we could do push for more. And the other shout out I want to give is like the RU community because I'm not an RU mainer by any means. I wasn't at least, but the community has really made me feel like home, like at home. So I really appreciate that, and I think I'll be sticking around for longer, seeing this. It's just a very, very good community and very good tier.
Yeah, I'm,
And
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, and thank you very much for doing this interview as well.
Thank you for joining us.
I really want to push the help push like Ming as well is one of the people that I respect a lot here because he's trying to push the project of the art YouTube,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to contribute any way I can, and I'm just happy to be part of all of this. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. This has been
Anytime, man.
this has been BluBird from the Rocky Mountain Payloaders.
That is
Goodbye,
me.
our YouTube.